So the biggest illusion of humanity is that they are the doer, that you are the doer of your actions. This is the biggest illusion, that you do, that you're acting. So we see life as a series. So the way that our imagination sees life is it looks at it in cause and effect. And most people, they're so identified with the cause and effect that they can't imagine that life isn't set up in cause and effect, and that cause and effect is simply an idea that humans use in order to communicate with. So when you're sitting here, it seems impossible to imagine that there is just here-ness. Like your imagination always imagines all these events that led up to you arriving here and looking at the computer screen. And that's your life and that you did it. And it's the same with any object. If you look at your computer, like when you think, what is the computer? You imagine all the things that led up to it being made and it being created. That you are somebody that's come from time and go into the future, that the computer is something that appeared in the past and is going into the future. Like to just sit with the computer and for it to be mystery is impossible for a human. It's like, no, the computer was made, there was these keyboards and materials all put together and humans did it and they created a computer. And we think that's true, that's the way life has happened. But for a dog that doesn't have complex thinking, they can't see life like that. To a dog or to a bee or to a bird, life is simply happening. It's not happening because of cause and effect. And why is that so important? Because cause and effects leads to this idea of doership, that you did something and that you're guilty of something, that you're to blame for something, or that the outside world is to blame for something. If you see how life is really working, that life is simply arising here in this moment, right here, spontaneously out of nothing, and that's the way it's always been and always will be, then there's a freedom that takes hold, or there can, I don't know if that's the right thing to say, that there's a freedom to take hold, but there's a freedom that can take hold, yeah. It's difficult to put into words, this subject. So the life isn't arising from the past and leading to the future. Life is arising just now, right now, in this. So that your actions appear from here, your actions don't appear from the past. So what we do is we sew all our actions together. So we believe that everything that we're doing now has come from the past, and we knit all of that together and make a story of you. And so if you've done something wrong, then you can tell the story of this guilty you, that you've done things wrong, that you've failed, that you're shameful. And if others have done things wrong to you, you can blame them and you can say, they are guilty, they've done something wrong, and they hurt me. And we look at life through that spectrum. Whereas that's not how life's actually happening, and that creates immense suffering, this identification with a person that isn't true. And it also enhances like blame, guilt, shame, pride, and expectation. I think these are natural feelings that arise in a human, but it enhances them and it makes them bigger and it makes them exaggerated. Like we're constantly blaming others out there or ourselves in here for what we've done. Whereas nobody is guilty, everybody is a play of one energy. They're not independently acting. There isn't an independent actor here. Like who is acting in this moment, right now? Like your mind screams, you, and has this image of you. But in this moment, who are you? Who is this you that is meant to be sitting here and making all these choices? There is a feeling of beingness and there is this empty looking. And then there is this voice that arises that's always saying, me, and it claims this empty looking and this sense of being and says, that's me, that's who I am, I'm looking at here, and then it's constantly telling the story of you. Whereas that voice is being experienced. The empty looking and the sense of beingness isn't being experienced. It's natural, it's innate, and it's in every experience. Whereas the voice of you is something that's coming and going. And this is so hard to hear as a person, because if you aren't that person, then that's totally boggling to the mind. If they aren't that person, then who are they? Who is the other person? And the mind doesn't like that. The mind is like, oh, because that implies that they're not a thing. And that's so scary. Like this evil alien force that's not a thing creating life. Everything is arising out of no thing. Freely, magically. And there's nobody that's guilty, there's nobody to blame, there's no one that's prideful or shameful. There's only life happening. Who you truly are is this moment. It's always been this moment, before you're born and after you die. It will always be this moment. And that's who you truly are, not you as a personality structure. And that's that I can see all the complexities in that, because there can be great attachment to your life, to you, to your family, to friends, and to just be here, they all disappear. To just be in this, everything disappears. To be totally absorbed in what's happening. There is no world, there is no friends, there is no others. And that's really scary to the person. The person is always afraid of nothing, because the person is programmed to be something. That separate person is always programmed to be a story, to be in relationship, to be something. Whereas you're not a thing. That's beautiful. You are not a thing. So what's this doer and doership and responsibility? Doership. Because often we think that in order to take responsibility there has to be a doer, but that's not true. Responsibility is an action. Responsibility is like paying your taxes or paying your house bills or picking up your children at a certain time or feeding the animals, cleaning the house. These are responsibilities and these are actions. Whereas doership is an internal way of being. Doership is seeing that there is nobody that's doing, but it's an energetic shift. It's not a mental thing. Like on the human level, you appear as if you have doership, but internally, it's knowing energetically that there is no doer.